Welcome back to our channel, where the real stories behind the glitz and glam of showbiz are finally revealed. Today's video is one you absolutely cannot miss. We're diving deep into a shocking revelation that has left fans speechless across the globe. She hid the truth for 20 years. Ha Ji-won finally confesses the staggering reason behind her 2025 marriage. Yes, you heard that right. One of Korea's most beloved actresses has dropped a truth bomb that's been buried for 2 decades. And what she's finally revealed is beyond anything anyone expected. So grab a seat, turn up the volume, and get ready for a story of love, secrets, and a promise that defied time itself. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss our next exclusive update on your favorite stars. Let's get into it. It began with a post. No fanfare. No fancy press conference. No teaser campaign. Just a single photo, Ha Ji-won, wearing a simple yet elegant white dress, standing under natural sunlight, smiling with a kind of peace the public had never seen in her before. The caption beneath it read just one sentence. It's time. That's all it took. In seconds, her name was trending across every major platform. Fans around the world were in disbelief. Ha Ji-won, the eternal icon of strength and grace, the woman who had dominated the Korean entertainment industry for decades, was finally getting married, at the age of 47, in the year 2025. There had been no leaks, no hints, no rumors strong enough to predict this. The silence had been complete, and now the news was thunderous. Speculation flooded social media. Who was the groom? Why now? Why the suddenness? Some guessed it was a business mogul from Europe. Others believed it might be a long-lost love from her early acting days. There were even wild theories about secret celebrity romances and political connections. But the truth was something no one had expected, and it came straight from Ha Ji-won herself. In a raw, emotional, sit-down interview that left the host visibly shaken, she revealed everything. "I made a promise," she said quietly, "and I've kept it for 20 years. The words hung in the air like a confession from a movie. But this was real. Ha Ji-won explained that in her 20s, long before she became the face of Korean cinema, before the accolades, the red carpets, and the international awards, she had fallen in love. Not with an actor. Not with a celebrity. Not with someone the world would recognize. He was just a man, ordinary to the outside world, extraordinary to her. He didn't want fame. He didn't care about spotlights. And when their paths began to diverge, they made a pact. A secret agreement to meet again at a very specific time in their lives. We said if we're both still single by 2025, we'd stop running. We'd stop chasing things that pulled us apart. And we'd choose each other. The statement sounded like it belonged in a drama. But Ha Ji-won wasn't smiling. She was crying. She explained how they stayed in touch, barely. A message every few years. No declarations. No expectations. Just, "Are you okay? Or still remembering the promise?" And they did. For 2 decades. The man, whose name she still refuses to reveal, stood outside her world, always watching, always waiting, never interfering. "He never asked me to come back. He never made me feel guilty. He just stayed," she said, her voice trembling. And then came the turning point. A few years ago, he was diagnosed with cancer. He recovered. Quietly. Silently. And he told her afterward, not during, because he didn't want her to feel obligated. That was when she knew. "I didn't want to wait anymore. I didn't want to wonder for the rest of my life what would have happened if I had kept the promise." So she kept it. They met. They reconnected. Not as old lovers trying to relive a past, but as 2 adults starting from the beginning. No rehearsals. No fairy tales. Just truth. And in that truth, they found something deeper than romance. They found clarity. The kind that only comes from pain, patience, and time. The kind that most people never get to feel. "He doesn't care who I am on screen," she said, laughing through tears. "He just likes me when I'm in pajamas, eating instant noodles, complaining about my bad lines." And that perhaps is the most beautiful part of all. After a life lived in the public eye, where every word, every dress, every smile is dissected, Ha Ji-won chose someone who didn't care about any of it. Someone who loved the woman, not the image. Someone who waited 20 years not because he was weak, but because he believed. The world responded with shock and awe. Hashtags exploded. Celebrities voiced their admiration. Fans cried. One viral comment read, "She didn't just marry a man. She married a memory, a dream, and a second chance." And maybe that's true. Maybe in a world where everything moves so fast, where people fall in and out of love between posts and pictures, this story, slow, silent, sacred, reminds us what love can really look like. It isn't always loud. It doesn't always come dressed in glitter. Sometimes it's just two people who promised something once and meant it. As 2025 unfolds, Ha Ji Won's story is more than a wedding headline. It's a message to the world that love isn't about timelines or trends. That sometimes the most powerful vow isn't made in front of cameras or crowds, but under the stars with no one watching and no one listening except the one person who matters. And after 20 years of silence, the world finally knows. She kept that promise, and it was worth everything. And as the details began to unfold, more layers of her story emerged, each one deeper and more unexpected than the last. Few knew that during her busiest years, while filming back-to-back dramas, flying between countries, collecting awards, and gracing the covers of every major fashion magazine, Ha Ji Won carried a quiet weight in her heart. "There were moments," she admitted, "when I thought maybe he forgot. Maybe I was the only one holding on." But then, right when she was at her lowest, when fame no longer felt fulfilling and the cameras only reminded her of how alone she felt, she'd get a simple message. Never emotional, never pleading, just enough to say, "I'm still here." That subtle form of love, the kind that doesn't chase but waits, became her anchor, even when she didn't realize it. Ha Ji Won confessed that she dated over the years, even fell in love a few times. But it never lasted, she said, because a part of me always compared them to him. Not because he was perfect, but because he never made me feel like I had to become someone else. In a world where people constantly asked her to be stronger, sexier, softer, younger, he was the only one who simply said, "Just be." And that perhaps is the core of the entire story. The man she's marrying in 2025 isn't a prince or a billionaire or a famous actor. He's the person who saw her before she became Ha Ji Won and still loved her after. When asked what her wedding would look like, she smiled and said, "Small. No press. No designer gowns. Just close friends and family. And a playlist of songs only we remember." And as for the future, she has no plans to retire. No grand announcements. "I'm still an actress," she said. "But now, I'm also someone's wife. And for the first time, that title feels more important than any award I've ever won." That statement alone sent fans into an emotional spiral, because in just a few words, she managed to strip away the glitz and glamour that surrounded her for decades and reveal a woman who had finally found what she'd been quietly craving all along. A life off-screen that felt more powerful than any scene she'd ever acted. Social media remains flooded with messages from people around the world, many saying they're now reconsidering love, timing, and the promises they once made. One tweet went viral. "If Ha Ji Won can keep a promise for 20 years, maybe I can send that message I've been scared to send for 2. Her story, while personal, has become a mirror for so many, because deep down, we all have a version of that person. The one who slipped through time, the one we let go of too soon, or the one we swore we'd return to someday. Ha Ji Won didn't just return. She ran back, embraced it, and said yes. Yes to the life that didn't make sense back then but finally does now.